A Kennedale ISD substitute teacher is facing charges accused of showing students inappropriate material during class. Ashley Evans turned herself into the Tarrant County Jail Wednesday. The district says it received a report about the content last month, but the incident happened months earlier. Fox 4's Casey Stiegel is in Kennedale tonight with more on the story. Casey.
Yes, Steve, good evening. The Kennedale chief of police tells me that this is still very much an active investigation. Tonight, it is not clear whether that former substitute teacher will face any additional charges, but the district says it has been made aware of additional allegations. In the student pickup line outside Kennedale Junior High School on Thursday,
shocked, just relieved that my kid was not involved.
Parents had plenty to say about what 38-year-old Ashley Evans is accused of doing when she worked here as a substitute teacher.
I was very disappointed because Kennedale is a great school district.
According to the arrest warrant affidavit, the incident happened in January. The district says it received a report in April. Records show the school notified police April 17th, following what the principal called a campus-level investigation. That is when Kennedale police were told by multiple students Evans allegedly showed kids pornographic images on her cell phone while engaged in conversations about porn and drug use.
That's very unfortunate. You know, when things like that happen, parents need to know ASAP. Because it could be more than just one.
The affidavit states Evans admitted to police she did show a female student an inappropriate photo several months back. Her teaching certificate with the Texas Education Agency remains active, but the district tells Fox 4 her access to all campuses has been revoked. Kennedale ISD also says the district fully recognizes its obligation to report these allegations to the state in the time frame required by law. Although the district says it received a report of the incident in April, some parents, though, questioning why they're just now finding out.
I wish there was more transparency of, hey, or just let us know something happened, we're looking into it, we'll keep you updated.
Ashley Evans has been charged with 2 counts of displaying harmful material to a minor. She was arrested and then released after posting bond of $50,000, $25,000 for each charge. Steve.
All right, Casey Stiegel and Kennedale. Casey, thanks.
Former FBI Director James Comey is under investigation by several federal agencies after a controversial social media post. He put a picture of seashells forming the numbers 8647, claiming he found it that way while walking on the beach. Well, the number 86 is a common reference to killing or getting rid of someone. Trump, of course, the 47th president. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem accused Comey of calling for the assassination of President Trump. After some pushback online, Comey took down the picture and issued a statement saying, "I posted earlier a picture of some shells I saw today on a beach walk, which I assumed were a political message. I didn't realize some folks associate those numbers with violence. It never occurred to me, but I oppose violence of any kind, so I took the post down." The Secret Service is now investigating to determine whether or not it was a threat to President Trump, and the FBI is apparently getting involved as well. Fox News anchor Shannon Bream with Fox News Sunday joining me now. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you. All right, this questionable post by James Comey, what's the political fallout now in Washington?
Well, folks here are kind of seeing it as a bit of a Rorschach test where you think, you know, is it a threat? Is it being overblown? But the question to a lot of people is, this is a man who ran the FBI. He's very educated, very astute, very accomplished. And they have a hard time believing that he wouldn't know 86 is a reference to getting rid of something or to tossing something or to killing someone. That may be the most extreme interpretation of it. But folks have a lot of raised eyebrows this morning that if you came across something on a beach, you didn't know what it was, would you post it knowing it could have any kind of implication? If you weren't sure, why post it? If you knew what it was, why post it? So it's something we'll discuss with our panel this weekend on Fox News Sunday.
Yeah, they always say, when in doubt, leave it out. All right, the peace talks have turned into an old game of chess here. Are lawmakers optimistic?
Well, it depends on which peace talks you're talking about, because unfortunately the country is, or the world is so ablaze right now. We have a lot of them, but if you're talking about Ukraine, Russia, the president spoke to this a short time ago on Air Force One and said that he needs to meet with President Putin. He said, we got to hammer this thing out, but if not, at least we'll know where we stand. When it comes to a nuclear deal with Iran, they say they've got a proposal on the table, and President Trump has said if they don't come to us, something very bad, quote, is going to happen. We're still working on the Israel-Hamas talks, and the president is celebrating brokering peace with India and Pakistan. So a lot of talking going on, and we'll see if any of these deals come together, and the ones that have, if they hold.
And I'm sure you'll be doing a lot of talking about that this Sunday.
We will, and our guests include Senator Tim Kaine, sits on Foreign Relations Committee, and we'll ask him about what he makes of this Middle East and Gulf region trip, because there are some critics of the president here in Washington who say, I actually got to give him some credit for some of what he got done on that trip. Also talked to the senator about, his full-throated support of President Biden during the campaign last year, and, if he stands by that, what he thinks now that this book has come out saying people were looking the other way. We've also got the House Ways and Means Committee chair with us, Jason Smith. Can they get that big, beautiful deal done? Because there are a lot of disagreements within the GOP still at this moment.
All right, Shannon, we'll see you then. Have a good weekend. Thanks.
See you Sunday. You too.
Fox News Sunday with Shannon Bream airs right here on Sunday at 8 a.m.
It has been more than 20 years, and a family still has no answers about the disappearance of their loved one. Good evening, I'm Clarice Tinsley. But this week, that family has renewed hope in the search for Sonia Moreno. Fox Source Dion England joins us with that. Dion.
Hi there, Clarice. It is a cold case revisited. The family of the missing woman has renewed hope for answers after 2 decades of silence.
From what I know of the story, they had gotten in an argument, and several times he had threatened her before that if she left him, harm was going to be done.
Myra Alanis and her missing sister's daughter, Sandy Ronquillo, have hope that after more than 20 years, the disappearance of Sonia Moreno will be solved. Moreno, a mother of 3 children, was 32 years old when she was last seen in December 2004.
It's been hard. It's been really hard for everybody, for my parents, my siblings, my nieces who've grown without a mother, and it's time.
It was December 12, 2004. Moreno had stayed the night at her best friend's home here on Galveston Avenue on Fort Worth's south side. Earlier that night, she had an argument at a nightclub with the man she was dating. A police document indicates that friend told detectives the suspect, Jorge Mesa, called the residence to speak with Moreno, then picked up Moreno around 5 a.m. A judge later issued a warrant for Mesa's arrest for kidnapping. Moreno's daughter, Sandy Ronquillo, was 8 years old at the time.
She did everything in her power to make sure we were happy and safe and protected, very loving.
In March of 2005, Moreno's vehicle was discovered in Nuevo Laredo, Mexico. Soon afterward, the case went cold. But now, after a meeting earlier this week with a Fort Worth police detective, Alanis says there will be a renewed effort to determine what happened to Sonia Moreno.
He gave us his word that he would put all his time and effort into this case and looking at everything with a new, fresh set of eyes, and that's all we're asking for.
Their family has a clear goal.
To find her. My parents are elderly now, and we want to give them answers. We want them to know where their daughter is.
In 2005, Moreno's parents submitted DNA samples that have long been part of a state database that helps match unidentified victims with families, but thus far there have not been any hits. Anyone with information about what happened to Sonia Moreno should contact Fort Worth Police right away. It's the very latest live. Clarice, back to you.
Dion, hopefully there will finally be some answers. Thank you.
The Texas Senate is still in public hearing today on its version of the school funding bill. Senators have faced criticism from House Democrats for not taking this up sooner. Fox 4's Sean Rabb listening in on the proceedings today and is in the newsroom with what he's heard so far. Sean.
Yeah, more than 60 people signed up for this hearing today. Cheers and jeers for the Senate bill that's finally being heard, in the Senate. The House and Senate don't agree on exactly how to provide public schools with more money.
House Bill 2 delivers $8 billion in new funding for Texas public education.
The Senate Education Committee holding a hearing on its version of the House school funding bill.
Permanent teacher pay, billions of dollars. Special education money, $1.3 billion instead of where we were at nearly half of that. So these are big items that our districts are asking us to deliver on.
We love the Senate's version of HB 2 that increases teacher pay across our state by taking this important step in largely eliminating the pay gap between Texas teachers and the national average. You are helping all districts.
But for some districts, the basic problem, the basic allotment. The House bill would raise what districts get for each student by $395. The Senate version, just $55.
I would ask that this body trust local independent school districts and go back to do hard work on this bill and restore the $9.1 billion in funding that the House proposed and sent over and increase it to the basic allotment for teachers in the areas where it needs to go.
It is so very, very difficult to tailor a bill that meets perfectly the needs of every one of those districts and every one of the campuses within those school districts.
Senator Brandon Creighton, the committee chair, adding that the Senate substitute is more flexible with billions on the table for district expenses. But for some, it's the past history of the legislature and public school funding.
Don't judge politicians by what they fund when there's a surplus. Judge them by what they cut when there's a deficit. Last time we had a large deficit, this legislature cut $5 billion in public education funding. Right now, you guys are generous because there's a surplus. If the economy goes badly next session, I do not trust you to not cut that funding later. This bill is better than nothing, but we do not trust you. Please do better. Thank you.
Well, House Bill 2 has to get through the Senate by May 28th. Then select members of the House and Senate, 5 each, would work out differences, a final vote, and off to the governor for signing, hopefully, before the June 2nd end of session.
All right, Sean Rabb. Sean, thanks.